everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sports View. I'm Ron Cameron.
I'm Denny McLean. I want to welcome you, too. We have with us today Bob Page, who used to be Mr. Cameron's sidekick on this show.
He's at the bottom of the barrel is what
He's now big time.
Oh.
He's now big time.
If you don't believe it, ask him.
With Madison Square Garden.
Ask him if you don't believe it.
He'll be with us in just a few moments.
Well, first the advertisers, of course, the Full House Restaurant, the best burger in Ypsilanti. You'll find it at the Full House Restaurant on Ecorse Road at Michigan Avenue in Ypsi. We have Arel Chevy Olds. You want a great deal on a new car? Well, you can drive a little, but you'll save a lot at Arel Chevy Olds in Flat Rock on Telegraph Road. We have Tubby Sub Shops, many locations in Metro Detroit. Gymnastics Training Center in Rochester. Get your kid off the street and doing something constructive. Gymnastics. Call 852-7950. We have Pass. That's Pro-Am Sports Systems. Charisma Salons. If you want more than just a haircut, they have 2 locations in Livonia. Stop by and see them. They'll take good care of you, the pros. Binary Midwest Computers. On the corner of Woodward at 12 Mile in Berkeley, go see John Waters and the gang. They'll take good care of you. And last but not least, Sports Fans Journal's going strong. And we're 96 pages now. Glossy color magazine. Makes a great gift. Of course, it's past Christmas, or your late Christmas, or just any kind of gift. And you should subscribe. Dial this number 24 hours a day for information, 778-8400. That's a new number now. 778-8400. You know you're getting big when you have 2 zeros at the end of your number, Denny.
I mean, you are coming along.
Coming along just great.
Well, obviously the top story of the day is the Billy Martin tragedy. Billy, to say the least, was in the spirit of Norman Cash, the same type of guy. It's just a shame. But I think if Billy had his druthers and had the opportunity or the option of a long suffering illness, I mean, I can't imagine Billy Martin suffering long and what have you, but Billy Martin checked out last night with a horrible accident with Bill Reedy, his best friend who owns Bill Reedy's Saloon here in Detroit, was driving the vehicle. Apparently, according to the latest that we've known,
we're taping this Tuesday morning too.
That in fact the vehicle slid anywhere from 50 to 60 yards, 70 yards down a slight hill, and wound up in the entrance of the driveway of Billy Martin, winding up in a cement embankment of some kind by the driveway. And unfortunately,
then his wife looked out the window, wanted to know what the noise was, and looked out the window.
Both wives came running out the door. Bill Reedy, of course, was up there to spend Christmas with Billy Martin and his wife, and they all were a part of having to see this terrible tragedy right there. Happened at 5:45 last night, Monday night, and he was pronounced dead about an hour and 10 minutes later. It's a terrible thing because Billy Martin, in the spirit of characters within the game of baseball, he was a character. Billy Martin, Norman Cash, you've got Louis Tiant, guys that...
Louis Tiant? Where did you get Louis Tiant from, for crying out loud?
Characters within the game, they had this aura around them that commanded attention wherever they went. I mean, the game will miss Billy Martin, not because he hasn't been on the field for a while, just because he was baseball. The competitiveness, the combativeness in his spirit. You know, when you talk about a guy and you think about marshmallows, he had the big fight with the marshmallow salesman, wound up giving the guy $10,000 to get him out of his life after the marshmallow salesman had sued him for millions. I was there the night they had the Lindell AC fight. It was
Dave Boswell.
way back in the late 60s, middle late 60s with Dave Boswell. Allison was there, and Billy was there, and there was another Minnesota Twin who I don't recall.
Jimmy Hall?
Jimmy Hall was also there. Was a center field. It was an outfield.
Yeah, Jimmy Hall, left-hand hitting outfield.
And there was an argument inside the Lindell. They walked outside, and rather than anybody get the first punch off, Billy whacked Boswell. Boswell was out for the rest of the year. Also, he separated his shoulder from this accident.
It's a 20-game winner for the Minnesota.
20-game winner for the Minnesota.
Well, they made up after, because later on when Martin was managing the Tigers, he asked for Dave Boswell in a trade.
That's right, he did. So. Billy, listen, Billy was only mad for that moment. He was only emotionally out of control, if in fact that's even true. I don't believe Billy was, somebody said he was emotionally out of control. I don't believe that, because Billy planned every punch. Billy, you know, just wasn't Billy'd reach from his hip and start throwing punches. Billy would plan a punch before he let it out.
Well, it's really too bad baseball missed him, because I'll tell you, I think he was going to come back and manage the Yankees next year.
There was an awful good possibility.
Oh, I think he'd have been in June, for sure.
With Bob Page now big time in New York, we'll ask him what the latest rumors were. There were also 2 other incidents with Billy Martin, famous incidents. Howard Fox, who was a traveling secretary.
He cold-cocked him, too.
Cold-cocked him in the hotel lobby as the team was checking into the hotel in the Shoreham Hotel over something to do with the room misunderstanding, and Billy cold-cocked him, although Billy had been having trouble with him, and they had a running feud in the newspapers. Now here's a traveling secretary arguing with the manager of the ball club
Except
in the
that
paper.
I think what Billy Martin accused Howard Fox as being a backstabber and a mouthpiece for Clark Griffith, who later on, or Calvin Griffith, not Clark Griffith. Calvin Griffith, later on, he got to be the executive vice president of the Minnesota Twins. I'm speaking of Howard Fox.
And there was also another incident with Billy Martin, and a lot of people have forgotten about this one. There was a huge fight at the Copacabana years ago. Billy Martin was there. Billy supposedly started it.
Hank Bauer was there, Mickey Mantle,
Yogi Berra was
Whitey
there,
Ford.
Mickey Mantle, Whitey Ford, and the third baseman, Andy Carey, which is a name really out of
they
were all there having a great time, and somebody made a comment, and I think Sinatra was entertaining. Somebody made a comment about one of the women that were there with one of the guys, and bang, Martin jumped out of his feet, banged this guy, and I mean, they had a riot at the Copacabana.
And Billy got traded a couple weeks later.
Billy got traded
to Kansas City.
Yes, where he was just
he was not too happy
there.
with
that.
He
was not happy.
And later he came and played for the
Kansas
Tigers.
City in those years was almost a farm club for the New York
Well, you had the
Yankees.
owner, Johnson. The owner, every time someone would go on the Yankees, he needed a player, they go get, when you name them, Moose Skowron. They got from Kansas City Johnny Blanchard. They got Bob Turley, Ryan Duran, and all those guys, I believe, came from the Kansas City Ball Club.
The tragedy and the timing of this with Billy's death is that Billy's mom just died.
Yeah.
The guy who was driving the truck again is Bill Reedy, who owns Bill Reedy Saloon here. Supposedly he's got a broken hip and got some broken ribs.
He'll be all right.
I had talked to some people from Newsday last night. They had called me about an hour and a half after the tragedy and stated that Reedy didn't even realize he was hurt. Now, somebody said, well, he was so drunk, it was because, he was so drunk he didn't realize he had a broken hip or broken ribs. I don't think that statement could be totally correct.
Maybe not.
With
we
the
don't know.
emotion that was going on.
Oh, yeah.
The adrenaline that was
you lose
probably
all train
flowing.
of thought.
I mean, who would worry about being hurt a little bit when their best friend had just died?
Danny, the police did not come up with and say how much that he voluntarily took the breathalyzer, and they said he was drunk and all that stuff, but they didn't say how far over he was. Maybe the needle couldn't go that far. Whatever, we don't know. We don't know that situation, but it's still a tragic situation. On to football.
On to football, MSU.
Well, let's just start talking about MSU. They did win the ball game. It was a terrible game, I thought.
Brutal game.
Although we got to give some accolades to one person out there that I thought the MVP went to, and I guess rightfully so, to the running back, Blake Ezor, because he had a great, he scored 3 touchdowns, had a good, I don't think a great game because he got stopped several times, but he still had he still did a great job out there. But the guy at defense, another local boy, Mike Iaquinello, who 2 touchdown saving tackles and 2 interceptions. He should have shared that MVP award, in my opinion. But Michigan State played pretty well, but they played a team that Hawaii just gave them the game.
Normally, they're always going to give the MVP award to an offensive player who's on camera all the time. Ezor had a terrific ball game.
Yes, he did.
And he has certainly turned a lot of attitudes around. It's going to be interesting to find out where he will go in the draft, how he's going to be appreciated.
I think he's going to play in the NFL, but I know he's not going to be a star. He's just not that big.
Well, you never know. You look back and you kind of remember some of the guys. Steve Largent. Whoever thought Steve Largent would be a star?
That's a little different, but you're right there.
You never know who is going to excel. There are a lot of people playing that people think should be stars that never quite measure up to their capabilities.
I think, again, he's got heart. I think he's going to play in the NFL someday. Will George Perlis be back? I was a little bit surprised that Perlis say, they're interested in me, and I'm interested in talking to them. And that grin that he put on TV tells me he'd like that job.
George Perlis has had enough of the Michigan media.
I think
George
so too.
Perlis has not been able to handle the media very well this year.
Yeah.
He has made all kinds of accusations and allegations. He's threatened people. He's made all kinds of threats in one form or another.
If they offer him the job, I'm sure he'll take it.
He's history.
Yeah.
I do not believe there's any way, although he has certainly indicated that he would like an opportunity at the AD job at Michigan State.
If he gets that he just may stay. Not going to the pro game. Watching that game on Monday night. We're taping the show, as I mentioned, Tuesday morning. Watching that game Monday night, I wanted Minnesota to win because I think that Burns is a class guy, and this guy in Cincinnati can be a first-class jerk. However, on the other hand, Sam Weish, on the other hand, Can you imagine the ratings the TV would have Cincinnati hosting Houston next week after what happened a couple weeks ago?
Would have been terrific, wouldn't it?
So in one way, I wanted to see that game, and the other way, I'm glad Jerry Burns got in because he's a class guy.
I was pulling for Cincinnati. I'm a big fan of Boomer Esiason. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he sees the field better than anybody else. He has more receivers. I think the best running back in football is Brooks, the Brooks, the running back with Cincinnati. I think he's a terrific competitor. Here's a kid that averages more than 5 yards carry every time he touches the ball. But more importantly, if he played on a ball club, say like Detroit, maybe that's not the best comparison, but if he played on a ball club that really had a good offensive line that wanted to run the ball more, Brooks would set some records.
Oh yeah, Brooks is a fine player. Brooks is a fine player.
And he's gotten over the problem that he had in the early years. He had all kinds of problems with fumbling the ball.
Yeah.
But boy, he has really become a great running back.
You look at the situation though with Cincinnati, all that talent, and then you look at the points for and points against. You say Cincinnati should have been in easily. Pittsburgh getting in shocked everybody. Everybody was shocked there.
And Pittsburgh is playing Houston this weekend. And I don't know if
I'm pulling for Pittsburgh
could beat anybody.
No.
But Pittsburgh will certainly give them a little bit of
Well, you know the thing, you got to give the schedule makers all the credit in the world, but I'll tell you, they went down to the last weekend. They had some great games that shows you there's parity in the NFL. Quickly talk about the Pistons and Wings before the end of the segment. The Pistons have, 10 out of 13 or 10 out of 14 at home this month, something like that. Or 9 out of 14. 9 out of 13, 9 and 4. 9 home games and 4 road games. The Pistons should go 10 and 3 and be back on top of the division because they've got a fairly weak schedule coming up for this month. So I think they'll get back on track.
No question about it. The Pistons are back on track. They're just not playing very well in a row, but they're still going to win the division. I don't think there's anybody there over the long period of time that can beat them for the division. They're just
I don't like
too
Chicago.
good.
They're too young. Atlanta's got too many internal problems on the team. Cleveland would be the main one, but Cleveland's got the injuries, and they played well considering. But I look for the Pistons to win the division.
And lastly, the Red Wings I think, apparently are playing with much more intensity now.
They should have beat Boston.
Despite the power play problems, they are playing with much more intensity, and I look for them to have a real good.
Well, I don't know about a real. I think they'll make the playoffs. The team that I don't think will make the playoffs.
Everybody makes the playoffs in the NHL.
So one team doesn't in the division, and the team that I look for, and I think he's done a good job as coach Pierre Pagé over there, not Bob Page, is Minnesota. I think they're slipping in their young players. They've got some pretty good young players, but I think down the stretch, I think you'll see Minnesota slip back to the pack.
When we come back, the one, the only, the former co-host of Sports View Today, Bob Page.
Hi, Mike here, owner of the Full House Restaurant. I'd like to personally invite you to come down and see why we have more than just the best burger in town.
Looking for that perfect Christmas gift for those sports fans? How about a subscription to Sports Fans Journal? Here's just a few of our celebrity columnists. Our 96-page glossy color magazine is a must for all sports fans living in Michigan or anywhere in the U.S. Just $15 for a year's subscription to Sports Fans Journal. Call our 24-hour hotline at 751-1818. Give the gift that will last all year, a subscription to Sports Fans Journal. In fact, get one for yourself. Call now, 751-1818. If you're looking to buy a new or used car, stop by Harrell Chevy Olds in Flat Rock. Drive a little, save a lot. Harrell has a full line of Chevrolets, Oldsmobiles, and the new Geos at rock-bottom prices and executive cars under dealer cost. And Harrell Chevy Olds announces guaranteed bank financing, good, bad, or no credit, even bankruptcies, no credit checks, and you'll drive away with your new car within 1 hour. And Harrell is open Saturdays 9 till 2. So stop by Harrell Chevy Olds on Telegraph Road 2 miles east of I-75 in Flat Rock. Call 962-0438.
Tubby submarine. There's no substitute, just no substitute for Tubby submarine. Gotta get down to a Tubby's. I would go out of my way. 25 delicious varieties, I guarantee to make you say, I want Tubby submarine. Ooh, I love those Tubbies.
We're back on Sports. We've hit the bottom of the barrel. Totally the bottom of the barrel on this show. Of course, he begged to come on, so we got him on. Bob Page.
Having me back, huh?
Having you back.
I understand that the mode of dress since I've disappeared has gone down on the show, so I didn't even wear a suit and tie. It's the first time viewers have ever seen me without a suit and tie on this program.
Have they run you out of New York yet?
No, not yet. I'm still collecting a paycheck, so doing fine.
You're still on Madison
But I
Square
miss
Garden?
you terribly.
I know
Yes,
you
I'm
do.
still on Madison
I
Square
made
Garden.
you for crying out loud.
I got to tell you, I mean, for whatever this guy's failings, I've been in this business.
Failings?
I've been in this business 15 years, and I tell people this is absolutely the most fun that I've ever had doing the show with him. The 5 years that we did it, we had such great times on this show, and the stories that we still tell to this day about.
We've cussed out a few people for not coming
we
and things
had,
like that, but we've had fun.
It's an off-the-cuff, spontaneous type of show. That is a lot of fun.
Saved his career.
had a
This guy was
ball
down and
over
out,
this.
Denny. This guy was down and out. He was in the gutter, and I said, I'll drag you out for a little while. And he was in the gutter.
Actually,
New York was
I was in the gutter and I looked over and he was lying next to me. So he said, "Let's do
And
something."
he was face down.
That's right.
Well, what are you doing in New York? Tell us.
I'm with Madison Square Garden Network. We have been for 14 months, and I think as regular viewers of this show know, I was commuting for a long time, back and forth to try to, keep this program going. I do a show called Sports Desk, MSG Sports Desk, and it's like a television news presentation. I'm on at 7 and 11 every night. Halftime of the Knicks games, between periods of the Rangers games, and I'm on before, during, and after the Yankees games. I think, again, as a lot of people know, we have the Yankee cablecast rights.
A lot of controversy when the Yankees sold their cable rights.
Sure, absolutely. We paid a lot of money.
$500
million.
10 years.
Absolutely. It's a tremendous amount of money, the biggest deal in the history of American cable television, and I hope we can sell advertising.
we tried that here. You tried that here for a while. Is that what you're doing now, selling ads there too?
I don't have to yet.
Did they give Steinbrenner all of that money up front?
Oh, heavens no. In fact, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school by saying the contract is very heavily backloaded. In other words, we're not paying $50 million a year right now. We didn't pay very much last year. We're not paying very much this year. The year after this, we get the rights to all 150 games. That's what the contract's for. And then the nut gets pretty heavy. We're going to try to sell a good percentage of the games to WPIX, the independent station in New York, Channel 11.
And we all know about heavy nuts, don't we?
Yes.
Break-even points.
Yeah, right. And hopefully we'll be able to do that, and hopefully it'll work out fine.
Who is doing the play-by-play then for the Yankees now?
Last year we had Tommy Hutton and Bobby Mercer. Neither of them will be back.
No,
again.
they got booted.
They did, and it's a shame in a sense because I thought they really did an excellent job, particularly Tommy Hutton. He's a guy that I think baseball fans vaguely remember.
First baseman,
Philadelphia
ball club.
He was a utility infielder with the Blue Jays and a bunch of different ball clubs, but he's an excellent broadcaster. Right now, I don't know if it's on in Detroit.
Senior League.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that on in Detroit on Pass? He's doing the Senior League with Gary Carter right now. He's very good.
And he does a good job.
Well, we went out and we got Dwayne Stats, who was doing the Chicago Cubs games on WGN.
I know who Dwayne.
You know Dwayne Stats?
Sure.
And you know who else they got, and this should be fascinating next year. We got Tony Kubek.
Is that right? So they brought Tony back.
I just can't believe they brought Kubek back after the run and he had with Steinbrenner.
He and Steinbrenner have had several go-rounds in the past.
Wars.
But my network in New York is run by a guy who likes his announcers to be a little bit controversial. His name is Bob Gutkowski, and he thinks, and I believe he's right, that the Kubek-Steinbrenner thing will add spice.
Sure.
And with television and radio covered so heavily by the New York newspapers, they're going to be jumping all over everything Kubek says and getting a reaction from George to it.
Will Tony still be as combative with George, you think?
I don't think it'll get as personal as it did on NBC because Kubek went after him quite a bit on NBC. But I think Tony Kubek will speak his mind, and I think if George butts in, as is his wont, and if maybe he fires Bucky Dent early and starts pulling the puppet strings himself again and making
he's
decisions.
got to look a different direction now that Martin's dead.
I think you'll see. Yeah, you're right.
Martin would have been back.
That was the speculation was. I think you'll see Tony equally controversial in our era, and I think you'll see him criticize Steinbrenner.
Tony's a good guy.
Yeah, and I think an outstanding color commentator.
Oh, I agree with you.
And I'll go a step further and say that I believe the pairing of Bob Costas and Tony Kubek is the best baseball broadcasting team I've ever heard.
See, I don't care for Costas.
Don't you?
I think Bob has a tendency to overdo it. I mean, for lack of a better term. I mean, he gets into all of these superlatives.
Yeah, he does
wants
do that.
To add all of these adjectives.
He loves the game and it shows.
He loves the game. There's no question, and I think that's what he would rather do than anything else. With all the projects that he's involved in. But bottom line is, I just believe he overdoes it at times. Kubek may offer some super balance to that. and allow the game to be played a lot more. Let the game be as important, if not more important, than the announcer. And I think Costas just has a tendency to take himself too. Good guy. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I just think he takes himself too seriously.
The media in New York compared, I know you've written in Sports Fans Journal the difference and things like that, but it is night and day, isn't it? The media in New York compared to this town.
Well, if you mean the television and radio people and the atmosphere.
Too many wimps there, is that what you'd say?
You know, without getting into the individual, it's tough to criticize individual guys in the business. I've never felt comfortable going on the air and saying, well, this guy's a wimp and this guy does this. Let's just say that the people who run broadcast outlets in Detroit, for whatever reason, want a certain presentation from their sports commentators. And that is, they want lots of highlights, they want lots of yuck and things like that. They don't want a hard edge, they don't want commentary, tough questions in interviews, and they don't even like, I think, a particular amount of insight. It's very different. Good
point when you say yuck, because there's too many yuckers.
Everybody hold their thoughts. We're going to come right back right after this.
Why should we hold them?
You have fun. You learn. You're challenged. The Gymnastic Training Center is for preschoolers to competitive teams and everyone in between. With dedicated coaches, the Gymnastic Training Center has the environment young people can develop in and have fun in safely. The Gymnastic Training Center of Rochester.
Looking for that perfect Christmas gift for those sports fans? How about a subscription to Sports Fans Journal? Here's just a few of our celebrity columnists. Our 96-page glossy color magazine is a must for all sports fans living in Michigan or anywhere in the U.S. Just $15 for a year's subscription to Sports Fans Journal. Call our 24-hour hotline at 751-1818. Give the gift that will last all year, a subscription to Sports Fans Journal. In fact, get one for yourself. Call now, 751-1818.
Charisma Salons and the Looking Good Gram make you look good and feel great. Give the Looking Good Gram this holiday season and let Charisma's professionals perform the delicate art of making that special someone feel his or her best. When you give the Looking Good Gram, you give the most personal gift ever. Choose from a beauty makeover to a manicure or a European facial, or go for the works with a day of beauty including limo service, lunch, facial, therapeutic massage, manicure and pedicure, new hairstyle and makeup. Charisma Salons, your official Looking Good Gram salon, located on South Laurel Park in 6 Mile.
We're back with Bob Page. Yes, we've hit the bottom of the barrel. Bob Page from Madison Square Garden, the former co-host of Sports View, is here. By the way, that new number is 778-8400 of Sports Fans Journal. Well, no, what happened was that I haven't changed the commercials. I have not changed the commercials. So, in New York compared to Detroit, how have you found the city? We talked about the media. Overall,
the city?
The city.
Look, man, if you want to talk about the city of New York, there are only two kinds of people in this life, and you've been there so many times over the years as a baseball player. There are those people who love New York. There are those people who hate it. There's no in between.
No in between.
Tell me you hate New York. You don't have to tell me why. No. I live there. I understand why you hate it. I love New York. I've always loved New York. It's the most famous, fascinating, and exciting city in the world. I don't have to live in Manhattan. I could live in the suburbs because I work off hours. I can drive in. I don't drive in rush hour. I choose to live in Manhattan because it's so fascinating.
It's fast. It's competitive. It's combative. I mean, you can also get hurt there if you don't watch yourself, but...
Of course, you can't in Detroit, though, Denny. Detroit's totally safe, you know.
Yeah. You've changed your ways on there. You're not as wild as you were on the show.
Yeah, I've toned my act down. I was telling the people in New York, since I've been there, probably 50%. I mean, look, there are just realities of this business. I mean, if you're going to do television and you're going to work at a regional sports network like we have rights to the games, I can't be as critical of the Rangers and the Knicks as I'd like to be. I found that out last year because I was. And I had problems with Phil Esposito and problems with Jack Dillard, the guy who runs the Rangers and the Knicks. They don't like that stuff.
And the bottom line is, it's much more tough to get access to them if you're going to rip them.
Yeah, in Detroit, I never worried about that too much because there were guys who refused to do this program because Ron and I had been critical of them. But there were always people who were good guys, and they said, sure.
You don't need those idiots.
Well, we did fine without them.
We did very well without these clowns. And you know who they are. There's some big names in this town just because they haven't got the guts to come on the show because they're a bunch of wimps. And let's just
they don't like you, Ronnie. I mean, you know.
Well, you're not exactly Mr. Love Boat there. You're not exactly on the Love Boat, fella. They didn't like you either. So we've had our problems getting certain people on the show, but then we don't want them on the show either.
And by the way, is my invitation, my open invitation, still here for Russ Thomas to come on the program? You still got the chair for him anytime he wants to come?
Thomas is on his boat now. He left Detroit. He's on his boat.
That was my only regret, that we never got Russ to come on the show.
Oh, you had some problems with him.
I thought it was in very bad taste that the Atlanta Falcons would do something for the last game in Russ Thomas's career, and the Detroit Lions did nothing. I think there's got to be a message there. And speaking about messages, here comes some more.
Hey, Brian. Thanks. Listen, want to get high? I got some great stuff. No thanks, Mike. That junk's bad news.
Smart kid. He doesn't need that stuff. Nobody does. I'm McGruff, the crime dog. Now, watch these kids.
I'm bored. Why don't we get wasted?
Why don't you get real?
I've got a better idea. Why don't you get lost?
See that? It's happening everywhere. So, if anyone ever wants to turn you on, just turn them off. It's a great way to help take a bite out of crime.
The ever-changing faces of the Detroit Red Wings. Keep up to date with the off-season strategies every month on Red Wing Magazine. We'll cover the trades, the draft, and training camp as the Wings prepare for another run at this year's Stanley Cup. Join Mickey Redmond each month as he interviews players, coaches, and looks back at the shining moments of the past seasons. Red Wing Magazine, another exclusive presentation from Michigan's cable network of champions, Pass Sports.
Binary Computers is celebrating their 9th anniversary, and how they've become one of Detroit's top independent computer dealers is really simple. A great selection of brand name computer products, outstanding service, and highly knowledgeable trained consultants who make things understandable in plain English. Binary now has facsimile machines and telephone systems, so stop in for special anniversary savings at Binary Computers, Metro Detroit's business computer center, Woodward at 12 Mile, Berkeley. Remember, if you haven't got a computer, you'd better get one before your competitor does.
What do these women have in common? They were all Girl Scouts. Girl Scouting showed them that they could do or be anything. An ambassador to the United Nations or an Olympic champion. Girl Scouting inspires girls to dream big and prepares them to meet the challenges of a demanding adult world. Your daughter should be a Girl Scout. She'll be in very good company, and she'll get the right start.
We're back closing out with Bob Page. Believe it or not, we stooped that low to bring Bob Page back.
We'll
do another show.
I'm going to do the second show too today.
Lord. What are we going to do on this?
I mean, not only is the mode of dress going down in this program, you guys aren't going to be guests anymore. You're losing affiliates. You're losing sponsors.
No. Are you kidding me? We have more sponsors now than when you were here, you clown. More selling's going on now. So, how long are you going to last in New York then, as we close out? That's a good way to end the show.
Well, let's put it this way. In our business, fellas, you never know.
Only as good as your last show.
That's right. I mean, my contract runs well into this year, and after that, hopefully, I'll sign another one to stay at Madison Square Garden or go to another station in New York, because I love living in New York.
Well,
I miss Detroit.
We would offer you the gift certificates for coming on the show, but the advertisers want personalities to come there, so we can't give you anything. But
and
thanks
furthermore,
for
they probably
anyway.
would bounce anyway, like your checks around town.
No, my checks don't bounce. No, I don't write checks anyway. Okay, the advertisers include the Full House Restaurant, the best burger in Ypsilanti on Ecorse Road at Michigan Avenue.
How many
Ypsi.
burgers are there in Ypsilanti?
Yeah. Harrell Chevy Olds, drive a little, save a lot in Flat Rock on Telegraph Road. Tubby Sub Shops, Gymnastics Training Center in Rochester. Get your kid off the street and doing something constructive. Call 852-7950. Path Pro-Am Sports Systems. We have Charisma Salons. You want more than just a haircut, go to Livonia and see Charisma. And then we have Binary Midwest Computers on Woodward 12 Mile in Berkeley. Go see John Waters and the gang. And Sports Fans Journal. It's going strong. We'd like to have you as one of the subscribers. Dial this number 24 hours a day, 778-8400. Bye-bye, everybody.
He's even got a producer's credit now, huh?